Top 10 best fight scenes you probably forgot about. Number 10. Ace versus Blackbeard. If it were any other opponent, Fire Fist Ace would have burnt them to cinders with a single swing, but alas, his opponent was none other than Whitebeard's old comrade Marshall D. Teach, and he's got a devil fruit even more terrifying than his own. The clash between the sun and the shade is so fearsome that it levels an entire town, while also serving as the trigger that leads to Ace's imprisonment. We were sure that we hadn't seen the end of Blackbeard's cruelty, but this was the moment we knew we were watching One Piece's ultimate villain start to emerge. Number 9. Sanji versus Jabra. We had to give our boy Sanji a chance to shine somehow. And shine he does when he unleashes some fiery footwork in the form of the Diablo Jambe. This turns out to be just the thing he needs for him to take out CP9 member Jabra, who in addition to a mastery of hard-hitting martial arts, can transform himself in a wolf. However, no amount of cunning can stop him from getting on the receiving end of Sanji's blazing heel as he sends him crashing through Eni's lobby. Number 8. Nightmare Luffy versus Oars. While this gigantic zombie does indeed put the crew through their paces, when going up against the Straw Hats, you had best be prepared for the fight of your life. Oars certainly manages to lay on the damage thanks to stealing Luffy's powers for his himself, but doesn't stand a chance when said captain returns to the fray, this time imbued with 100 of Thriller Bark's vengeful shadows. With their strength added to his own, Luffy is able to take out his undead double with quite the brutal display of force. Number 7. Zoro versus Kaku. Who would have guessed that the swordsman of the Straw Hat Pirates taking on a giant giraffe would have made for one of the arc's most epic confrontations? Given that Luffy and Lucci were beating each other bloody next door, that's saying a lot. Despite his rather ridiculous new form, CP9's second deadliest assassin manages to push Zoro to the edge. At least until he talks shit about Robin, then the gloves come off. Busting out the 9-sword style, Zoro manages to cut his way through all of Kaku's attacks and end the battle in a brutal swing. Number 6. Luffy versus Usopp. Talk about emotional. After clashing over the fate of their ship, the Going Merry, Usopp challenges Luffy to a fight, winner taking claim to the vessel. Now you would think that this would be a walk in the park on Luffy's part, but surprisingly, Usopp manages to hold his own, outwitting and wounding his captain in a visceral display of defiance. Of course, he can only hold out for so long before Luffy lands the finishing blow, leading to the two parting ways as the crew is splintered from within. Enemies come and go, but seeing two steadfast friends fight like this is just heartbreaking. Number 5. Luffy versus Crocodile. One of the finest villains the series has ever produced, the shadowy leader of Baroque works nearly brought the country of Alabasta to his knees through deception and his own overwhelming power. Heck, his devil fruit was so staggering that he buried Luffy under a whole desert at one point. This would pave the way to one hell of a rematch, where Luffy used his own blood in order to lay the smackdown on the sand user. Thankfully, the crime boss isn't out of the picture yet, so there's every chance these two could clash again in the future, since Croc seems to hold a grudge. Number 4. Zoro versus Ryuma. Why just have Zoro gain a new sword when he could earn it by defeating an undead samurai? One of the highlights of the crew's misadventures in Thriller Bark, Zoro finds himself battling for control of Brook's soul against the zombie known as Ryuma. Despite his decrepit appearance, the old boy still has some strength left in those rotten bones, putting the Straw Hat swordsman through his paces. Still, there's not a snowball's chance Zoro would lose before his long-awaited duel with Hawkeye Mihawk, shown when he gives his foe a proper warrior's send-off. Number 3. Luffy vs. Doflamingo. It's a testament to Oda's genius how he keeps managing to make each of his villains so wholly hateable within such a short frame of time. A former noble turned warlord, Doflamingo is one nasty piece of work. His anger and psychosis leading him to take control of the kingdom of Dressrosa through rather bloody means. His actions send him on a collision course with Luffy, ending in a brawl for Dressrosa's future. While they're evenly matched when it comes to the use of haki, Luffy has a trump card that not even the Puppet Master can stand against. Gear 4th. Number 2. Whitebeard versus Akainu. There were many casualties during the war at Marineford, but none hit closer to home than when this wicked admiral ended Aishia's life. While nothing will ever fill the void left by his departure, we were given a consolation prize as we watched Whitebeard dwarf the magma user before lashing out with righteous fury. Despite being shot, stabbed, and having his body blown apart by molten rock, Whitebeard's anger over losing his precious son keeps pushing him forward, resulting in Akainu getting absolutely erect. Number 1. Luffy versus Lucci. In order to save the life of crewmate Robin, Luffy had only one obstacle to overcome: the CP9AE's ultimate assassin, Rob Lucci. With his slew of powerful techniques and transformation into a leopard hybrid, Lucci was pretty much the perfect killing machine, one easily capable of standing up to Luffy's gear 2nd and 3rd. It even looked he had won the day when he blasted Luffy's insides to pieces. Unfortunately for this kitty, Luffy is knacked one to let something like internal hemorrhaging stop him, which he goes on to display by letting loose a barrage of punches so strong it pretty much takes out 8 of Lucuia's 9 lives.